Well, the screen is totally dark. I'm sitting here in the dark in my bed. Should be sleeping, but can't seem to sleep. Been reading all this stuff. So this is going to make a terrible video, but as usual, it's going to be great commentary. Uh, you know, I've been talking with this guy a lot at work about the election. And of course, I'm displeased with both candidates. And talking about, it no longer seems to be whether or not the government should act in a certain situation. It's only a matter of what we believe the government should do. And it's so different from the way that our founders envisioned the Constitution work. And the Constitution, just for those of you who have forgotten, is the document that lays out how the United States is to be governed. And we have all these unconstitutional and extra constitutional things going on. And I was talking about this to my friend, talking about how we don't have the constitutional right to initiate welfare, or Social Security, or the Federal Reserve, or the banking system, of the central bank, or farm subsidies, things like this. And he says, man, you sound like you're just anti-government. And I got thinking about it. Yeah, if you read the literature that the founders of this country were not only reading themselves, but what they wrote for public consumption in their personal memoirs that have been published since their death, they were very anti-government, and today they'd be considered anti-government radicals. And I've just been watching a lot of videos, uh, watching some Thomas Sowell, and found some new material from Walter E. Williams here on YouTube. And Walter Williams said something that, I've thought before, without having heard him say it. And that is, if James Madison or Thomas Jefferson or some of the early presidents of this country were to run for president today, they'd be run out of town on a rail. They'd be laughed out of the race because their ideas are so far outside of the spectrum of modern day politics, yet it was their ideas that founded and formed this great nation. He quoted James Madison, and I'll repeat that quote here. James Madison stood on the floor of one of the houses of Congress and said, I cannot, and I may not get the quote exactly right, but he says, I cannot lay my finger on the article of the Constitution that authorizes the government to act in the name of benevolence. You think about that. You think about our public education system that is enacted in the name of benevolence, because every child, quote unquote, deserves an education. But you think about all the welfare and all the Social Security and all the Medicaid, because we can't let our poor and elderly be untaken care of, and the child health care programs, all enacted in the name of benevolence. But yet one of the primary framers of our Constitution said he couldn't find it in the Constitution where the government would be allowed to act in the name of benevolence. And then I just happened to be searching for a Thomas Sowell interview that I have still yet to find, where, and on one of the web pages I came across, there was a quote from Patrick Henry that says the Constitution is enacted not to restrain the people from uh, the government. It's not enacted to restrain the people from the government, but it's enacted to restrain the government. And I'm not getting the exact quote right, but I'm getting the spirit very close. And he says, lest the government overtake uh, our lives and interests. That kind of sounds like anti-government rhetoric to me. It just kind of does. And then I heard a quote on the radio a couple of days ago. I guess it would have been by our old friend Jerry Doyle, who I've railed against in other videos here. But he gets it right sometimes. Um, Quoting Alexander Hamilton, saying that if and this is of course in the 1800s or earlier, saying that if the people knew what the central banks were up to, there would be a revolt by morning. And it's so far-fetched from the even consideration within the spectrum of modern-day politics. There would be a revolt by morning. And of course the central banks have increased many times over their interference and intervention in the monetary system since that time. And here we are having petty arguments over what should be done about the financial crisis. Should the Fed do this? Should the Fed do that? Should the Treasury do this? Should the Treasury do that? One says do this, one says do that. And here Alexander Hamilton is all these years back saying the things shouldn't even exist. Central bank should not exist. Someone that stands up and says that is laughed at. And it's just kind of strange. I guess some people think you evolve with the times, and some people think there are principles that withstand the test of time. I'm one of the old fogies, I guess, that thinks that certain principles are good for no matter what time you live in. Either things are right or they're wrong. And the fads of the times don't change that to me. But it does for 98% of America. What we need to do is go back to the thoughts and the ideas of the people that founded this great nation. And I'm out of time. And you saw a dark video, but great commentary.